The dining room was warm and inviting, with the soft glow of a chandelier casting golden light over the mahogany table. A delicious aroma of roasted chicken and freshly baked bread wafted through the air, mingling with the faint scent of cinnamon from a lit candle on the sideboard. It was the perfect picture of a cozy family dinner in a suburban home. Yet, beneath the surface, tension simmered like a pot left too long on the stove. Anna sat at the table, her hands neatly folded in her lap, her smile radiant but just a little too tight. At 27, she had always been the picture of poise, but tonight, she felt the weight of eyes on her, watchful, sharp, and unrelenting. Across from her sat Eva, her mother-in-law, a woman whose beauty hadn't entirely faded with age. Eva's dark eyes seemed to bore into Anna, dissecting her with each glance, searching for cracks in her composure. Marek, Anna's husband, laughed heartily as he passed a bowl of potatoes to Anna. "You're going to love these, honey. Mom made them. She always says they're her secret weapon to keep me coming back for dinner." His tone was light, playful, filled with the easy affection of a man deeply in love. Anna forced a smile as she reached for the bowl. "I'll have to learn your secrets one day, Ewa," she said, her voice soft, trying to keep things cordial. Ewa's lips curved upward, but it wasn't a smile of warmth. "Oh, it's no secret, dear. Just years of experience. Something you'll pick up in time," she said, her voice dripping with a sweetness that felt more like a veiled barb. The exchange didn't go unnoticed by Anna, but she held her tongue, focusing on her plate as Marek chuckled, oblivious to the undercurrents of tension. As the meal continued, Ewa's watchful presence became harder to ignore. Each time Anna reached for her glass of tea, Ewa's eyes flickered to her, the faintest trace of a smirk tugging at her lips. Anna couldn't shake the feeling that there was something unspoken between them, an invisible thread tightening with every passing second. "Anna, darling," Ewa began, her tone light but with an edge that made Anna's grip on her fork tighten. "Malik tells me you've been experimenting in the kitchen. How is that going?" Anna glanced at Marek, who was too busy buttering a slice of bread to notice her hesitation. "It's going well," she replied carefully. "Marek's been very patient with me while I learn." Ewa laughed, a short, clipped sound that felt more like an exclamation point than genuine amusement. "Oh, I'm sure he has. Patience is one of his strengths. But it takes more than patience to keep a man happy, don't you think?" Anna's cheeks flushed, but she managed to keep her expression neutral. "I'll do my best to keep him happy, Ewa," she said, her voice steady despite the tightness in her chest. Marek finally looked up, sensing the tension but misinterpreting it entirely. "Mom, stop teasing Anna, you're scaring her off." He grinned, leaning over to give Anna's hand a reassuring squeeze. Anna smiled back, but her stomach churned. She took another sip of her tea, the warmth spreading through her throat. Almost immediately, she felt a faint tickle, then a cough, bubbling up before she could suppress it. "Are you all right, dear?" Ewa asked, her voice dripping with concern, though her eyes betrayed something else, something darker, almost satisfied. "I'm fine," Anna managed, clearing her throat as she reached for her napkin. The cough subsided, but the unease lingered, gnawing at the edges of her thoughts. The evening wore on, the small talk and laughter masking the silent battle between Anna and Ewa. Marek, blissfully unaware, continued to joke and laugh, his happiness a stark contrast to the tension tightening Anna's chest. As the plates were cleared and the night wound down, Anna excused herself to the kitchen, her mind racing. The fleeting smirk on Ewa's face as she coughed played on repeat in her mind. It wasn't just in her imagination. Something was off. Ewa's voice carried from the dining room, soft and melodic, but with an undertone Anna couldn't ignore. "She'll learn, Marek. In time, she'll learn." Anna paused in the kitchen doorway, her hands gripping the edge of the counter. What exactly did Ewa mean by that? And why couldn't she shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something far more sinister? Ewa's life had once been idyllic. Married to Wojtek, a man she adored, and raising their son Marek in a home filled with love and laughter. Wojtek holding Marek as a baby, Ewa beaming beside them. But the golden hues of these memories are soon replaced by darker tones as the images shift. One snowy evening years ago, Wojtek's sudden death shattered Ewa's world. The crack of a telephone ringing echoes, followed by the solemn voice of a doctor informing her of her husband's fatal heart attack. Her knees buckled, and the phone slipped from her grasp. The camera lingers on her trembling hands as they clutch at the edges of her kitchen counter, the weight of her loss evident in her hollow, tear-streaked face. For weeks, Ewa wandered through her home like a ghost, the emptiness of Wojtek's absence haunting every room. The once lively house fell silent, save for the sound of Marek's laughter, her only solace in a world that felt irrevocably broken. Years passed, and Ewa channeled all her love, energy, and purpose into raising Malik. He became her anchor, her reason for carrying on. She lived for his milestones, his first soccer goal, his high school graduation, his wedding day. But as Malik built his own life, Ewa was left to face the quiet void of her own. Then came Piotr. The flashback shifts to a lively community event, the hum of conversation and clinking glasses filling the air. Ewa stood near a refreshments table, her expression polite but detached, as though she were merely going through the motions. That's when Piotr appeared. Tall, with graying hair that only added to his air of confidence, Piotr's charm was magnetic. "You look like you could use some company," he said, his voice smooth, his smile disarming. Ewa had chuckled nervously, unused to such direct attention. What began as friendly conversation over glasses of wine soon evolved into private lunches, then late-night phone calls. Piotr had a way of making Ewa feel seen, wanted, alive again. For the first time since Wojtek's death, she allowed herself to feel something other than grief. But Piotr was not the savior Ewa had hoped for. The flashback grows darker, the atmosphere heavier. Ewa is shown sitting in her living room, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. Piotr stands near the window, his posture relaxed, but his words sharp as knives. "This arrangement works because it's private," he says, his tone devoid of the warmth that once drew her in. "You wouldn't want people knowing, would you? Imagine what Marek would think, or the rest of your precious community." Ewa's breath hitches and she looks away, her eyes brimming with tears. She nods mutely, understanding the unspoken threat. From that moment, Ewa's life became a delicate balancing act, walking the fine line between indulging in the fleeting comfort Piotr offered and living in fear of his cold, calculating nature. He was a man who thrived on control, and Ewa had become his pawn. Back in the present, Ewa sits alone in her dimly lit bedroom, her reflection in the vanity mirror showing a woman both hardened and haunted. She runs her fingers over an old photo of Marek as a boy, her expression a mix of love and desperation. Her son is her world, the only pure thing left in her life. But Anna threatens to change that. Ewa's lips press into a thin line as she places the photo back on the table. Her grip tightens around the teacup beside her, the same kind she served Anna at dinner. Her mind flashes back to Piotr's words. "Control is everything, Ewa. Lose it, and you lose everything." It's the perfect setting for a dream wedding, where Marek and Anna stand hand in hand at the altar. Marek's face radiates joy, his eyes fixed on Anna, who glows in a simple yet elegant gown. The officiant's words blend with the gentle strains of the organ, creating an atmosphere of love and celebration. But amidst the joy, the camera finds Ewa seated in the front row. She wears a perfectly tailored dress, her makeup flawless, her posture straight, but her clenched hands tell a different story. She watches the ceremony with a fixed smile, but her eyes betray a storm of emotions brewing beneath the surface. As the couple exchanges vows, Ewa's mind drifts. She recalls the years she devoted to raising Malik, the sacrifices she made, the nights spent alone after Wojtek's death. And now, she thinks, This girl walks in and takes him away? Her gaze shifts to Anna, who beams with happiness as she places the ring on Marek's finger. To the world, Anna is perfect, graceful, intelligent, compassionate, but to Ewa, she is an interloper, someone who threatens to dismantle the delicate bond she shares with her son. The reception is a grand affair, held in a sunlit garden draped with twinkling fairy lights. Guests laugh and dance, clinking glasses in celebration. Marik and Anna move through the crowd hand in hand, accepting congratulations. Ewa sits at a table near the center, her lips pressed into a thin smile as she sips her wine. Occasionally, a guest stops by to compliment the beautiful ceremony or share fond memories of Marek. Ewa responds politely, but her eyes constantly flicker to Anna, who is effortlessly charming the crowd. The tension thickens when Pyotr arrives, impeccably dressed in a sharp suit, his charismatic demeanor commanding attention. He approaches Ewa with a knowing smile, placing a hand on her shoulder. To the untrained eye, they look like old friends, but Anna catches a flicker of something else in their interaction. Tisa? A cahoot? Whatever your great-grandfather did with his own heart. Sisterlock says slowly, her brow creasing in worry as she realizes perhaps her family has the wrong idea about who she is. Pyotr leans in close, his voice low. Quite the celebration, isn't it? Eris stiffens. Yes. It's a big day for Marek. For Marek, Pyotr repeats, his tone laced with amusement. His gaze sweeps the room before landing on Anna, who is laughing with her friends. She's lovely, isn't she? Quite the catch. Ewa's jaw tightens. She forces a smile. She's fine. Pyotr chuckles, the sound dripping with condescension. Fine, of course. He takes a sip of his drink, then whispers just loud enough for Ewa to hear. Careful, Ewa. You wouldn't want her to think you're jealous. Ewa shoots him a sharp look, but says nothing. Pyotr's presence feels like a noose tightening around her neck, his every word a reminder of the power he holds over her. Anna, meanwhile, is caught in the whirlwind of her new role as a bride. She dances with Marek, her cheeks flushed from laughter, her heart full, but as the evening wears on, she can't shake the feeling of being watched. At one point, she glances toward Ewa, who quickly averts her eyes. Anna smiles nervously, trying to dismiss the unease creeping over her. It's just the emotions of the day, she tells herself. Surely Ewa is just adjusting to the changes in her life. But later, as she passes Ewa and Pyotr's table, she catches a snippet of their conversation. Feels too perfect, Ewa mutters under her breath, her words carrying an edge. Peter smirks. Perfection doesn't last, my dear. Anna pauses briefly, her brow furrowing, but she continues walking, not wanting to intrude. Yet the moment lingers in her mind, planting a seed of suspicion she can't quite explain. The night ends with Marek and Anna bidding farewell to their guests. Ewa stands at the edge of the crowd, her expression unreadable as she watches her son drive away with his new wife. Strange feelings develop in Marek. Her eyes darken, filled with a mix of sadness, envy, and something deeper, something dangerous. Pyotr approaches her, his voice a low murmur. You'll figure it out, Ewa. You always do. Ewa doesn't respond. She simply stares into the distance, her thoughts a tangled web of emotions. The rhythm of Anna and Marek's new life as a married couple starts to settle into a comfortable routine. The small suburban house they now call home is filled with laughter, the scent of home-cooked meals, and the quiet contentment that marks the beginning of most marriages. But beneath the surface, something is slowly festering, an undercurrent of unease that Anna can't quite shake off. At first it's subtle, a lingering glance from Ewa here, an odd comment there. But soon, Anna begins to notice the cracks in the veneer. It starts with Ewa's phone calls. Whenever Anna enters the kitchen or walks into the living room, Ewa quickly ends the conversation, her voice dropping to a near whisper, the words barely audible. Anna tries not to make a big deal of it, attributing it to the privacy and distance that come with family life. But it becomes harder to ignore as the days pass. Lani. Who is she talking to? Anna wonders, feeling a knot tighten in her stomach. Then there are the strange absences. Iwa, once so present in Marique and Anna's lives, suddenly has more errands to run. A quick trip to the store that turns into a whole afternoon, an appointment that she doesn't mention until the last minute. Anna tries to be understanding, but the constant pattern of these absences, paired with the hushed conversations, gnaws at her curiosity. One evening, Anna is alone in the living room, flipping through a book when the soft buzz of a phone vibrates from the hallway. She picks it up absent-mindedly, expecting it to be Merrick, but it's Iya's phone, left on the table from earlier. The screen displays an incoming call from an unknown number. Anna hesitates for a moment, then presses accept, her heart racing. At first, there's only the faint hum of static. Then, Ewa's voice, sharp and urgent, crackles through. "I told you, Pyotr, you're pushing me too far." Ewa's words are harsh, her tone tight with frustration. "You can't just... This is dangerous. If she finds out..." The line cuts out briefly, and Anna freezes. The tension in Ewa's voice is palpable. Who is Pyotr? And what is Ewa so afraid of? Then Ewa's voice returns, lower now, a hiss of desperation. "She can't know. I can't lose everything." Anna's blood runs cold. The conversation hangs in the air long after it ends, unanswered questions swirling in her mind. What is Iwa hiding? Why does it feel like her world is suddenly shifting beneath her feet? The next day, Anna watches Ewa more closely. The woman she once viewed as a kind, if distant mother-in-law now seems like a puzzle, one Anna feels an urgent need to solve. She watches Ewa's every move, noting the way she holds herself back when Marek is around, the way her smile falters when Anna catches her gaze for too long. Meanwhile, Pyotr's shadow looms ever larger over Ewa. She can't escape his influence. The man, once so charming, now seems more like a puppeteer pulling at her strings, tightening his grip with every passing day. Ewa's phone calls to him have become more frequent, the tension in her voice more pronounced, and Pyotr's demands grow bolder. He presses Ewa to spend more time with him, suggesting that Marek and Anna's growing closeness could spell disaster for their secret. "You've got to make a choice, Ewa." Pyotr's voice cuts through one of their late-night phone calls. "Either you end this charade or they'll find out soon enough. You know what'll happen then." Ewa's breath is heavy, shaky. I don't know what to do. What if Malik... What if she finds out?" "She does not find out," Ewa says, her voice heavy. Pyotr's laughter is low, almost mocking. "You can't keep running, Ewa. We've gone too far. I've already told you. Either you're with me or you're nothing. Don't forget that." Ewa's paranoia grows. She begins to doubt everyone around her. Her son, her daughter-in-law, even herself. The days feel longer, the nights colder. She starts watching Anna more closely. Her eyes narrow slits when Anna isn't looking. She fears the inevitable confrontation, the unraveling of the life she's built. The tension in the house becomes unbearable. Anna feels it too. The smiling politeness of her interactions with Ewa feels strained, as if the air between them is thick with unspoken words and barely contained anger. One evening, after another round of uncomfortable dinner conversation, Anna takes a deep breath and approaches her husband. "Merit, do you think something's going on with your mom? Something secretive?" Merrick looks up, his expression one of concern. "What do you mean? She's just been a little off lately, I guess. Maybe it's just the wedding. Everything's been so overwhelming for her." Anna isn't convinced. Maybe. But there's something strange. I think she's hiding something. Merrick shakes his head. "You're probably just overthinking things. She's just Ewa, you know? Sometimes she's hard to read." LaRue. But Anna can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. The more she observes, the more she senses that Ewa is hiding a dark secret, one that could unravel everything. On the morning of December 24th, 10 carrier planes land in western Ukraine to be delivered to Russian troops on board. where they were being prepared for a Russian soup. The days grow longer, the house quieter. Ewa, ever the dutiful mother, begins to turn inward, hiding a dark obsession behind a veil of concern. Her mind, once consumed by the fear of being exposed, now fixates on a different solution, one so insidious that it will leave no trace, no evidence to lead back to her. In the solitude of her home, late at night when the world outside is still, Ewa finds herself browsing online, her fingers trembling as she types. Her search is methodical, calm at first, but as she digs deeper, her pulse quickens. She is looking for a way to get rid of Anna, a way that will go unnoticed. The answer, she tells herself, is right in front of her. Eva stumbles upon a herb, aconite. It's said to be a natural poison, one that could mimic illness so effectively that even the most experienced doctors might never suspect foul play. A sense of satisfaction pulses through her. This is it, the perfect tool. She begins to gather the ingredients. Aconite isn't something you can buy off the shelf, but Ewa is determined. She finds a reputable source that provides it in small, undetectable doses. With a calm, almost practiced ease, she plants it in the far corner of her garden, the flowers now standing as a reminder of her growing power. To anyone who would see it, it's just a harmless new hobby. What's the difference? From an irrelevant accident, Oila finds leftovers. She buries it in the garden of her garden, the flowers now standing as a reminder of her growing power. To celebrate her debut festival, she says, she plants it in the far corner of her garden, the flowers now standing as... Weeks pass, and Anna begins to show the first signs of illness. At first, it's subtle, a headache here, a moment of dizziness there. Anna brushes it off, assuming it's the stress of the new marriage, the pressures of adjusting to a new home, and perhaps the lingering effects of the wedding. But with each passing day, the symptoms grow worse. Malik is the first to notice. He comes home one evening to find Anna sitting on the couch, pale and distant, her hand pressed to her forehead. Her eyes are unfocused, and she looks exhausted. "Anna, are you okay?" Marek's voice is filled with concern. "You've been looking pale lately. Maybe you should see a doctor." Anna shakes her head weakly, trying to offer a reassuring smile. "I'm just a little tired, that's all. It's probably the wedding hangover, you know?" She laughs softly, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Ewa, the ever-watchful mother, steps in. "Oh dear, it's probably just the stress. You've been working so hard. Don't worry, I'll take care of her." Her voice is sweet, almost too sweet. It lingers in the room like a poisonous mist. Marek, grateful but still suspicious, agrees, unaware of the underlying threat that lingers in the air. Over the next few days, Anna's health continues to decline. She grows more fatigued, even the simplest tasks feeling like monumental efforts. Her stomach churns at the sight of food, her appetite waning as nausea creeps in every time she tries to eat. Ewa insists on preparing all of Anna's meals, poring over them with a tenderness that borders on obsession. But the more Anna eats, the worse she feels. Her energy levels plummet, and dizziness becomes a constant companion. Despite Marek's increasing concern, Ewa waves off the possibility of anything serious. "It's just the stress of being a newlywed," she says, with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "You know how it is. I'll make her something light. She needs to rest and recover, not work herself to exhaustion." Anna, though, begins to notice a pattern. Whenever she eats the meals that Ewa prepares, she feels worse. Her dizziness intensifies, her stomach becomes more unsettled, and the fatigue weighs on her like a heavy blanket. It isn't just the stress, it's something more. End of section. One evening, Anna quietly declines the meal Ewa has prepared, claiming she's not hungry. Ewa presses her, a softness in her voice that belies the tension in her eyes. "Are you sure? You need to eat something. You'll feel better, I promise." But Anna can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. She decides to skip the meal and goes to bed early, hoping for some rest. To her surprise, when she wakes up the next morning, the fog of exhaustion that had settled over her for days seems to lift, if only slightly. She doesn't feel great, but she feels better than she has in days. This realization shakes her, and she can't ignore it any longer. The symptoms are undeniable now. Anna has started to put the pieces together. Ewa's kindness is cloaked in something sinister. Every meal, every moment of care feels suffocating, as if each act of love is carefully calculated to weaken her, to make her feel small and vulnerable. Anna starts skipping meals. She finds herself nibbling on simple snacks when Ewa isn't looking, things that are light and easy on her stomach. She notices she feels better after avoiding the meals Ewa so eagerly prepares for her. Her suspicions grow, and with them, a deep, gut-wrenching fear. What is Ewa doing to her? What is the purpose behind these odd acts of care? As the days stretch on, Anna's health deteriorates further. She grows weaker, the poison's effects creeping deeper into her system, slowly robbing her of her vitality, and Ewa's watchful eyes remain fixed on her, a predator circling its prey. The tension mounts. Anna's world is falling apart, her body betraying her, and she knows she must uncover the truth before it's too late. But she's trapped, caught in the web of her own suspicions and Ewa's dangerous game. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that only seemed to deepen with time. Anna was cleaning the attic one afternoon, moving old boxes and dusting forgotten corners of the home. It wasn't a task she particularly enjoyed, but she needed something to distract her from the unease she had been feeling lately. As she shifted a box near the old bookshelves, something caught her eye. A small leather-bound book hidden in the corner. It looked out of place, tucked away so carefully that Anna might have missed it if she hadn't been so thorough in her cleaning. Curious, she pulled it out and opened the cover. Inside were pages filled with faded ink. Letters, neatly folded and tied with a ribbon. The first letter she read was signed Pyotr, and it didn't take long for Anna to realize that these were love letters. They were written from Pyotr, the man Anna had seen with Ewa during the wedding, to her mother-in-law. The letters were filled with passionate words and promises of love, affection, and desire. It was clear that their relationship had been going on for much longer than Anna had ever imagined. As she read through the letters, a sickening realization started to creep in. Ewa and Pyotr had been having an affair, a secret one that Anna had unknowingly walked into when she married Marek. The pieces of Ewa's strange behavior began to fall into place. The late-night phone calls, her quiet absences, her need to control every meal Anna ate. It was all about hiding the truth of the affair from Marek. Anna sat back, the weight of what she had just discovered heavy in her chest. She was still processing everything when a new thought hit her. Did Marek know? Was he aware of the affair? Or was he just as much in the dark as she was? Marek hadn't even asked her about it, and now she was asking him about it. How could she? Her mind raced, and a knot formed in her stomach. She couldn't be sure, but the idea that Marek might be hiding something from her made her heart pound with confusion and suspicion. For the next few days, Anna became more observant. She watched Ewa closely, noticing every small detail, the way her eyes darted when Anna asked questions about Pyotr, the way her smile seemed to falter whenever the topic of marriage or family came up. Ewa's every move seemed to confirm Anna's worst fears. Anna kept her observations quiet. She didn't confront Ewa. Not yet. She wasn't sure if she was ready to face the truth. But one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. The web of lies and secrets that had seemed so harmless now seemed like a dangerous trap, and Anna had just started to untangle it. As she continued to keep an eye on Ewa, Anna couldn't help but wonder how deep this betrayal ran. Would the truth break her marriage? Could she even trust Marek anymore? The suspense was growing, and Anna knew that she was standing on the edge of something much darker than she had ever imagined. The air in the house had grown thick with tension, like an electric charge building up just before a storm. Ewa had been on edge for days, her nerves fraying. The affair with Pyotr, once a source of secret pleasure, was now becoming a threat she could no longer manage. Pyotr had grown tired of her anxiety, and in one last, sharp conversation, he made his feelings clear. "You're too paranoid," Pyotr had told her on the phone, his voice cold. "If Anna finds out, she'll go straight to Marek. You'll ruin everything, Ewa. I won't be part of this mess anymore." The words hit Ewa like a slap. She was cornered, trapped in a lie so deep that there was no escape. The only option she could see now was to act quickly before Anna pieced it all together. The stakes were higher than ever, and Ewa was desperate. That's when the idea formed. Anna had to be eliminated. And Ewa, always meticulous, spent hours in the kitchen, carefully preparing Anna's favorite herbal tea. But today, the familiar tea would be different. She had added a lethal dose of poison, disguised in the same delicate blend of herbs Anna had come to trust. Ewa wasn't just making tea. She was making sure the secret she'd so carefully hidden would remain buried forever. The end of Anna meant the end of the threat, the end of everything that had been unraveling around her. Later that afternoon, Ewa called Anna down to the living room. Her voice was casual, even sweet, but there was a coldness in her eyes that Anna couldn't ignore. Ewa poured 2 steaming cups of tea and placed them carefully on the coffee table. She motioned for Anna to sit. As Anna sat down across from her, she could feel the heaviness of the moment. The tea was steaming, the scent of herbs filling the air. But it wasn't the tea that made Anna's heart race. It was the look in Ewa's eyes. Ewa's gaze was sharp, calculating. It wasn't just the tea that Ewa wanted to discuss, it was Anna's suspicions, her knowledge, her looming threat. Anna couldn't help but notice how Ewa's hands trembled as she stirred the tea, a slight flicker of tension in her otherwise controlled demeanor. Ewa's voice was soft, but there was an edge to it. "So, how have you been feeling lately?" Ewa asked, a knowing smile curling at the corners of her lips. "You look a little pale. Maybe too much stress, eh?" Anna didn't flinch. She had spent the past few days studying Ewa's every move, listening for the cracks in her facade. She kept her voice steady, careful not to reveal the war that was raging inside her mind. "I'm fine," Anna replied, smiling just a little too brightly. "I've been busy with work. You know how it is." Ewa watched her closely, her eyes narrowing ever so slightly. "Of course," she said, taking a sip of her own tea. "Sometimes we just need a little break, don't we?" Anna watched as Ewa brought the cup to her lips, the moment stretching out in silence. Anna's heart pounded in her chest, but she kept her face calm, her expression neutral. She had no intention of letting Ewa see through her. As they continued to talk, Anna felt the weight of the conversation shifting. She knew Ewa was probing, trying to gauge how much Anna knew, how close she was to discovering everything. But Anna was playing a careful game. She wasn't going to give anything away, not yet. Then, when the conversation lulled for just a moment, Ewa stood up, her eyes still fixed on Anna. She turned to get something from the nearby kitchen. In that instant, Anna seized her chance. She quickly grabbed the cups, switching them silently. When Ewa returned, she sat down without suspicion, her hand reaching for the cup she had left. Anna's breath caught for a second, but she maintained her calm, her gaze steady. Ewa took another sip, not noticing anything was amiss. The tension in the room was unbearable, like the calm before the storm. Anna waited, her eyes watching Ewa's every move. Minutes passed, and Anna could see the color draining from Ewa's face. Her eyes began to dart nervously around the room, and her movements grew sluggish. Ewa's hand trembled slightly as she placed the cup down, her voice suddenly weak. "I'm not feeling well," Ewa murmured, her tone disoriented. I think I need to lie down." They laughed. Before Anna could say anything, Ewa collapsed, the tea spilling over the edge of the cup. Panic flooded the room, but Anna's heart remained steady. She had known this would happen. The poison was working, just as it was meant to. Anna quickly dialed for an ambulance, her voice frantic, though she couldn't help the small, cold smile that tugged at the corners of her lips. She knew exactly what was going on, But to everyone else, to the doctors and emergency responders who would soon arrive, Anna would appear to be the concerned wife, the innocent victim of this unexpected tragedy. As Iwa lay unconscious, Anna's calmness was the only thing that remained clear in the chaos. She had outsmarted her mother-in-law. And now the game had changed. Iwa's death was swift. Her body, weakened by the poison, succumbed to the effects within hours. The ambulance had arrived too late, and by the time the doctors conducted their initial examination, they were quick to conclude that her death was due to a sudden heart attack. There was no suspicion of foul play. Iwa's health had already been compromised, her nerves fraying from the stress of the affair and its repercussions. Anna watched, her face a mask of shock and sorrow, as the medical staff confirmed the cause of death. A part of her felt a strange sense of relief, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She had won, but she showed no sign of it. Her expression was that of a grieving wife, a woman heartbroken by the loss of a mother-in-law who had always been more than just a mother-in-law. She had been a rival, a shadow in Anna's life. But the real work was just beginning. That night, after the house had emptied and the initial chaos had passed, Anna made sure to destroy all evidence. She carefully disposed of the poisoned teacups, the remnants of the aconite, and the plant itself. Any trace of the deadly herb was eliminated. She scrubbed the kitchen counters, wiped every surface with meticulous care, leaving no trace of her involvement. Anna was methodical, moving with an eerie calmness, as if she were simply going through the motions of an ordinary day. In her mind, the affair was finally over and her position was secure. No one would ever suspect her. Meanwhile, Marek was falling apart. He had always been close to his mother, and her sudden death hit him hard. His grief was raw and palpable, a deep sorrow that seemed to consume him. The news of her passing sent waves of shock through the family, and Anna stepped into the role of the dutiful wife without hesitation. She comforted Marek, holding him as he cried, whispering words of solace, though her heart was not in it. To the outside world, Anna was the perfect wife, the one who would stand by Marek through this difficult time. She was the one who kept their life running smoothly, even as her own emotions remained tightly guarded. As Marek wept over the loss of his mother, Anna's thoughts remained cold and calculating. She had done what was necessary, and now she had to stay in control and take care of themselves. She needed to stay in control. In the weeks that followed, Anna carefully maintained the illusion of a grieving wife. She supported Marek, accompanied him to the funeral, and handled all the logistics. But inside, she felt a growing sense of triumph. The woman who had tormented her, who had tried to destroy her marriage, was gone. And now, there was nothing left to stop Anna from claiming what was hers. She said it out loud to the rest of us in the evening time. As for Pyotr, he disappeared as quickly as he had come. After Iwa's death, he vanished without a trace, as though he had never been a part of their lives. Whether it was guilt or fear that drove him into hiding, no one knew. Anna didn't care. Pyotr was no longer a threat, and neither was Iwa. But though the immediate dangers had passed, Anna knew that the consequences of her actions could still catch up with her. There was always the chance that someone might suspect foul play. However, Anna had been careful. She had covered her tracks, ensuring that no one would connect her to Iwa's death. The investigation into the heart attack would be swift, and the truth would remain buried, just as she had planned. As Anna watched Marek, grieving and lost, she felt a strange emptiness inside. It wasn't that she didn't love him, but the thrill of the game, the fight for dominance, had consumed her. With Iwa out of the picture, Anna's hold on her marriage had strengthened. Marek was hers now, and no one could take him away from her. But despite her victory, something gnawed at her. The nagging feeling that, in winning, she had lost a part of herself. And so, life continued. Marek would eventually heal from his mother's death, though the wounds would never fully disappear. Anna would continue to play the role of the perfect wife, but beneath her calm exterior, the darkness of her actions would linger. The story of Iwa's death would be a quiet one, fading into the past, as Anna's life with Marek slowly resumed its course. But in the shadows, Piotr's absence and Ewa's memory would remain, a reminder of the tangled web of lies and secrets that had once threatened to tear them all apart. And for Anna, there would always be a sense of unease, a quiet realization that the price of her victory had been higher than she had ever imagined. The months after Ewa's death passed. Life resumed, though it was never quite the same. Anna had managed to stay in control, playing the role of the perfect wife, while Malik navigated the ace grief of losing his mother. He began to heal, finding solace in Anna's constant presence and the steady routine she maintained. To the outside world, they were the picture of a happy, albeit sorrowful, couple. But Anna wasn't entirely free from the shadow of her actions. At times, when the house was quiet and Marek was away, she would find herself lost in thought, a creeping unease worming its way into her mind. There were moments when she wondered if Ewa's suspicions about her, suspicions that Anna knew about the affair and might eventually reveal the truth, had been accurate. Had Ewa known? Had she realized that Anna had been onto her from the beginning? Anna had always dismissed it as paranoia, but now, in the solitude of the night, the doubt gnawed at her. Fear was not just about the affair anymore, but about Ewa's death. Anna had taken such care to cover her tracks, to make sure that no one could trace the poisoning back to her, yet a part of her wondered if she had overlooked something. The fear of exposure lingered, like a shadow that followed her every move. Would someone, someday, figure it out? Would Marek ever realize the truth, or would it stay buried forever? It was on an ordinary day, as Anna sorted through the stack of mail, that something unusual caught her eye. Among the usual bills and advertisements was an envelope that stood out. Its heavy texture and the lack of a return address immediately piqued her curiosity. The handwriting on the front was unfamiliar, a stark contrast to the usual official letters she received. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw the name. Piotr. A sense of unease swept over her as she held the letter in her hands. She hesitated for a moment, her fingers trembling slightly before she ripped open the envelope. Inside, she found a single sheet of paper, its contents as cryptic as they were chilling. The letter read, I trust you're well. I've been keeping an eye on things, as I always do. You might wonder why I've decided to write to you, but rest assured there's no need for alarm. What happened to Ewa was unfortunate, but necessary, wasn't it? Perhaps I should be more worried about what you know, what you might have learned. But for now, let's leave the past where it belongs. So, I'll be in touch when the time is right. Until then, consider this a gentle reminder that some secrets are more fragile than others. Warm regards. Yal. Anna's breath caught in her throat as she read the letter again, each word sinking in with cold precision. The message was unmistakable. Piotr knew. He knew everything. He knew about the affair, about Ewa's death, and about Anna's role in it. But what truly unsettled her was the final line. Until then, consider this a gentle reminder that some secrets are more fragile than others. It was a veiled threat, a warning that the truth could come to light at any time, leaving Anna vulnerable. Her mind raced as she processed the implications. Piotr's letter was carefully written, implying he was biding his time, waiting for the right moment. The fact that he had sent it instead of confronting her directly suggested that he was playing a dangerous game. What did he want from her? Why hadn't he exposed her yet? Was he toying with her, testing her nerves? Or was there something more sinister at play? As she sat there, staring at the letter, the weight of Piotr's words pressed down on her. The peace she had worked so hard to maintain now felt fragile. Piotr's presence loomed over her once again, a reminder that the past was never truly gone. It was still out there, waiting to unravel everything. Anna knew she couldn't ignore this. She had no choice but to play along, at least for now. She couldn't let Marek know about the letter or he would begin to suspect something was wrong, but she also couldn't let Piotr have any power over her. She had to regain control of the situation, or the consequences could be disastrous. The letter's arrival signaled the beginning of a new game, one that Anna was not sure she was prepared for. Pyotr had the upper hand, but Anna had learned how to navigate the shadows. If she played her cards right, she could turn the tables once again. The question was, how long could she keep up the act before Pyotr finally exposed the truth? Would Anna be able to outwit him once more, or had the past come back to claim its due? As the days went on, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that Pyotr's words were more than just a threat. They were a warning, a reminder that, no matter how much she tried to move on, her past actions would always have a way of catching up with her. The tension in the air was palpable, and Anna knew that the final twist had yet to unfold. The truth is out, and the mother-in-law's dreadful secret is finally revealed. Her actions have left the family broken, but the bride's strength shows through, though justice is still to be served. For more shocking stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more exciting stories. Hit the subscribe button now.